at 7:05, or if we're live right now.
Are we live? I don't know. You got to put the link on Twitter.
Yeah, I think this will be the link.
That is the link?
I think so.
How do we
Might be live right now. We'll find out, though. Here, I'll tweet it out. You can check it on your phone then. All right, we might be live right now. And if we are, thanks for joining us. If not, we'll wait.
Let's see. We are live. YouTube live stream.
Is it going?
This is Inception, live stream Inception. It's not available.
It's not available.
So I think it's probably starting at 7:05.
What does it say? This page isn't available. Actually, I guess I could have, figured it out here. Oh, this is okay.
This is not what we want, right?
We are live, but this is not the full
So
link.
delete that tweet.
Right. How do you find out?
I deleted the tweet.
That's fine, but how do you get the... Oh, duh. Okay. Refresh this.
Here we go.
All right.
So this will post it then when we're ready.
I think we might be live now.
Huh?
I think we might be live now. Check that out. Let's see. Get the speakers. Yep.
All right. Woo. All right.
Okay.
We're live.
All right.
Let's get it.
All right. It might have been a weird start, but we are live now. Okay. Got all the technical difficulties out.
Switch it around.
I guess we can dive into it. Thanks for everyone that's joining us or watching this delayed. We're going to the Northwestern game tomorrow, so we decided to do a little live stream show beforehand. We are going to do another one tomorrow after the game. Hopefully talking about a Big Ten championship. I guess it'll all be decided tomorrow, and kind of seeding of the Big Ten tournament, which also should be hopefully decided by tomorrow. We won't know Michigan State, Michigan, where they're going to be ranked 1 or 3, hopefully, by the time we're recording tomorrow. But we'll dive on to that tomorrow. Today, we're going to talk about kind of the season as a whole, our thoughts beforehand, of what's happened so far, and then a small preview about the Northwestern game at the end. But I guess let's hand it off to you. And
First of all, I got to say, I guess the video dimension of this podcast certainly changes things because you can't see it from here, but we are looking at a big screen of ourselves on that screen. And definitely makes it a little different. I'm glad to be back podcasting. Haven't talked. We talk Purdue basketball all the time, but we haven't gotten to talk to anybody that may have listened to our podcast back in the day when we were doing it. Back in the A.J. Hammond's day, I believe his senior year was the year that we were really podcasting quite a bit. So really glad to be back. It'll be a lot of fun. So Jack, obviously, we're in his apartment right now. He lives here in Chicago. I currently still work and live in West Lafayette. So that's kind of where we are. But I kind of wanted to jump off right off the bat and say, what did you expect to do Purdue to do this year before the season started? Right. Because I certainly didn't expect to be where we are today.
No, not at all. I guess to start the season, even going back to last season, I might have said on one of our shows that we're going to be bad for a long time after last year. Clearly, that's not the case this year. I don't know, maybe middle of the Big Ten, lower bottom half of the Big Ten probably, because as much as I was excited for the recruits this year, which I was really excited for this recruiting class. I didn't expect much. Maybe Travion to do a little bit, or Eric Hunter Jr. really was the one I was most excited about. Turns out not as good as I thought. He's a 4-star, is not really playing like one. Maybe he'll grow into that one day. But I would say middle of the Big Ten, if not lower half of the Big Ten. Kind of where I use that, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree. I expected Purdue to finish around 6th or 7th in the Big Ten. I didn't know how exactly it would stack up, but I expected teams like Maryland to be better than us this year. I expected teams like Iowa to be around the same level that we were this year, and that totally ended up not being the case. I have to admit something straight up at the beginning of the podcast. Prior to the season starting, I was at a bachelor party in Louisville, and I made a bet with one of my friends. And I thought these were $50 bets. They ended up being $100 bets, so I'm going to have to pay that out tomorrow. But I made two of them. I made one that IU would finish higher in the Big Ten than Purdue did, because I honestly believe that. And I still believe that IU has a ton of talent on their basketball team. I don't know if it's just that they started to do poorly and then they kind of lost everything, or what the deal was, but I expected IU to be a lot better than they were. And Purdue ended up being the better team, which I was totally happy about being wrong. And then the other bet was I expected Purdue to finish outside of the top four. And again, that didn't happen. I'm going to be out $200 as of tomorrow after the Northwestern game. So that's going to be fun. But again, this season has been completely unexpected. I couldn't be happier. Well, actually, I take that back. I could be happier if we had beaten Minnesota on Tuesday, but that didn't end up being the case. So I want to do a quick recap of kind of the non-conference schedule. So we obviously lost 4 games during the non-conference. We lost to Virginia Tech, Florida State, Texas, and Notre Dame. Obviously, all of those games hurt. I think the game that was probably the most important and kind of, in my opinion, was what made me really scared for the rest of the season was the Texas game. Now, I don't know if you recall, but Carson Edwards scored 40 points against Texas on 15 of 26 shooting and 7 of 14 from the three-point line. At that point, I'm thinking, this is about as efficient of a basketball player as you can be, and we're still losing this game. We're not making the tournament. At that point, I thought we're done.
I mean, I was saying it all non-conference that we weren't making the tournament. All of the games that were quality games, you didn't win a single one of them. You didn't win a single one of them. Like you said, Florida State. And Florida State and Texas were the most frustrating out of both of those, because you basically won both those games, and then at the end just somehow found a way to lose it. So those two are very aggravating. And I agree. When I was like, okay, so every non-conference game you scheduled that had any talent, you didn't win, so that doesn't help your resume. Little do we know they're going to go on this tear in the Big Ten. And like you said, you're mentioning your bet earlier, the only place they can finish is get this out up front is second or third. They can't get the 1 seed anymore, unfortunately, which I was very aggravated. But yeah, I mean, you lose, you fall to 3. You win, you go to 2. You do get the Big Ten championship in there, which is nice, or a share of it. So yeah, I just wanted to get that out of the way real quick at the start. I mean, to start the season, I thought there was no shot they were making the tournament, and they didn't show us a reason to believe that they would. Now, and even the early Big Ten games, Michigan, we got our head stomped in
by 19. We lost to Michigan by 19. Granted, it was on the road,
right?
Which
but
changes the calculus on
not
that.
19 though. I mean, geez. So
yes,
you got that going for you. And then the Maryland game was like, okay, they won a game, but how good is Maryland? We don't know yet. Turned out they had actually, honestly, in my opinion, this is the scariest team in the Big Ten. That if we were in the tournament, if we were to play a team in the tournament, I don't really want to see Maryland. They're pretty hot. So, I mean, preseason though, or pre-Big Ten, non-conference, total disaster this year. I completely agree.
Well, not only that, and in retrospect, it's easy to say that a lot of these wins or losses were good or bad, and we've come to find out that the Virginia Tech loss and the Florida State loss weren't bad, because these teams are now still in the top 25. The one loss that, if you look back and you'd say, how in the world did that happen? That would have to be Notre Dame, because Notre Dame has been absolute garbage this year. They have been by far they've been the worst team in Indiana. So the fact that we lost to them at the Crossroad Classics, that I believe that is our only below 100. It's not the RPI anymore. It's the net rating. I believe that Notre Dame is the only sub 100 net rating loss that we have. So, and we lost to them by 8. The one thing to note about the Notre Dame game, though, was kind of the coming out party for Travion Williams, where he saw garbage time minutes in that game, but he very much overperformed in those garbage time minutes. He shot 5 of 6 from the floor, had 10 points. So that was kind of where we started to see, hey, why isn't this guy getting more run on the court? Why isn't he getting more minutes? And that actually kind of led to him getting more minutes. He played a lot in the Michigan State loss on the road to East Lansing, where I believe he was 6 of 10 from the floor with another greater than 10-point game. And I think that was really when we started to make the turn, even in a loss. So the non-conference was ugly. We're just going to stop talking about that because, in my opinion, that was a totally different team. I don't even view what Purdue is right now as that team. That team was absolute trash.
No.
So, anyways, getting into the conference schedule and kind of where we are and how we got to where we are now. There were a few games that really stood out in my mind. Those games being the Michigan State loss. Obviously, we lost by 18 points. That wasn't fun. But again, Travion got some more minutes.
Yep.
The Michigan State win at Mackey. Now, that game was a roller coaster of a game because you had a 20-plus point lead, and then you ended up blowing it to only having a 4-point lead. And every Purdue fan out there, I know if you're a big Purdue fan, you were thinking this game is over. We're going to blow it. Season over. And I'm just happy we got out of there with a win. I don't know if that's credit to Painter. I don't know if that's a credit to the seniors. I don't know if that's a credit to just this general team's mentality. But we got out of there with a win, so I can't say that I wasn't impressed.
Yeah, no, I agree. Huge game. I don't know if I was totally bought in at that point yet, though. I was like, good win. It's Mackey, which I think that's something we should actually talk about right now is undefeated at home.
Yeah.
We've lost, 1 or 2 games over the past few years.
We've lost 4 in the past 4 years.
Right.
4 or 5 years.
Right. So that's nothing new. Now, with this team's talent level, which at the beginning of the season, if we were to do one of these podcasts, I would have said 0 talent. And I did say that when we were texting. I was like, this team literally has no talent on it. They're just not good enough to compete, which I still agree that there's less. They're doing a lot with little talent, I think, at least compared to the past few years. And I don't know. For me, I think when it flipped, it did start with the Michigan State loss because I was saying all along when Boudreaux was playing, and I'm not a huge fan of him. I don't think he's very good. I was like, why doesn't Painter just play these young guys? Why isn't he playing the young players and just, we're not going to win this year. Let's just get him some run. Well, he ended up playing them. And we started winning, which was kind of a surprise to me. Yeah. Like I said, Eric Hunter Jr., pretty big disappointment this year. There's no sugarcoating it. He was 4-star. That was the big guard we were getting this year. Can't say enough about Travion Williams. My favorite player on the team right now, probably. Solid guy. He's not getting enough run right now. Something's got to be up.
Well, his confidence gone. Yeah. So, first of all, there's a lot to unpack. There's a lot of things that I could talk about there. So first, let's talk about – I got to go into Evan Boudreaux really quickly because I have been very disappointed with him as a player. I expected a lot more from him coming into this season. He came from Dartmouth, which I know is just an Ivy League school, but he averaged a double-double at Dartmouth. He was scoring 18 points a game and had 12 rebounds a game. Mm-hmm. So when you have that kind of production, even if it's at an Ivy League school, you expect more from him. Now, I will give him somewhat of a benefit of the doubt because I really don't think he's meant to play the 5.
No.
I don't know if he's athletic enough to play the 4, though, in the Big Ten, which is a problem. So I think there was a reason why Painter never offered him a scholarship when he initially wanted to come to Purdue as a freshman. I think Painter realized from the get-go that this guy is not a Big Ten player. And if you just aren't athletic enough to play in the Big Ten, and if you don't have those complementary skills like 3-point shooting, which he's very pedestrian at, then you're just not going to get a lot of run on the court. So that's the Evan Boudreaux part. The Eric Hunter Jr. thing, I agree with you. He's been a disappointment. I actually tweeted earlier this season that Eric Hunter Jr. was trash. His dad tweeted back at me and was like, trash? And I didn't respond because I'm a bigger person, but he was trash up to that point. Not only was he bad on the offensive end, he was bad on the defensive end as well. The thing that I think has changed with him as the season has progressed is that I do think he has become a lot better of a defender. I think you can put him out there to spell no gel, and I think he can shut down one of more of the premier guards in this league for a few minutes a game. Not to say that he can guard a guy for a whole game or that, you know, he's going to give you more than 10 solid minutes of production.
Yeah.
But he can give you 10 solid minutes on the defensive end. With that being said, he's really bad on offense right now.
The last game.
He's raw. He's too tiny to be able to get to the basket. He needs to put on at least 10 to 15 pounds of muscle, if not more. I don't know if it's possible, but he's going to have to improve his shooting because right now, every three-point shot I think he's put up so far has been a brick. It's been ugly. I think I could shoot three-pointers better than that.
His decision-making is bad, too. I mean, in the last game against Minnesota, we saw him just turn the ball. I mean, now everyone was having lazy passes that game, but he was just turning the ball over. Just throwing it away every time. So it's very upsetting. I don't know what else to say about him. He's been a disappointment. Is there room for improvement? Can he get better? Yeah, probably. I think he'll be all right. And I guess to piggyback off of that is that let's talk a little bit about Wheeler.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, let's just go through all the freshmen. So we'll get to Travion last because I got a lot of thoughts on it.
Yeah.
So Aaron Wheeler, in my opinion, is the guy that I'm even more excited for than Travion because Wheeler has all of the intangibles that you want. He has athleticism, which is not typical on a Purdue team. Let's just be very honest about it. And he's developed a three-point shot. And that is something that a guy at his size, if you can shoot the basketball, you're going to be very successful. So if he can work on his handles and if he can get a driving game, because we all know he's athletic enough to fly to the hoop. If he can develop some handles, then it will be an absolute game changer for him. And I think that he could be an all Big Ten player by the time that his 4 years are up at Purdue.
No, I totally agree. I mean, he redshirted last year. I was actually really excited for him last year when he came. I'm like, this guy's going to be sweet. But let's be honest, there was not room for him on the team last year. There were no minutes.
It was a good redshirt,
right? And it's rightfully so. It's no knock on him. It's just there weren't any minutes with all the seniors and all the experience in that team. So. Yeah, and so this year, I think he worked on his game because he was pretty small. He still is a little small, could put on some more weight. But yeah, I think he's sick. I think he's super athletic, like you said. He is pretty money from three right now. He's pretty accurate from three.
And it's a good stroke. It's not a broken stroke. It's a good stroke.
Right. So I think there's a lot of upside with him. It gives me hope for the next few years. Not that I want to get to that. I mean, we'll get to that a few shows from now, but it gives me hope for the future of this team with him because I'm like, this kid could really turn into something. I think he plays a good role this year. Good defender. I'll move on from that.
He's decent. He's
all right.
He could be a good defender.
Right.
He could develop into one. So the next guy we'll get to, Sasha Stefanovic.
Oh, fuck him.
This is my guy. This is my guy. I love Sasha. I think he's going to be a great player at Purdue. He's cut from the same cloth as a Dakota Mathias. I actually think that he's a lot more athletic than what I expected. He can actually move his feet decently well, and you can tell that he has high basketball IQ, and his shot is pure. Let's be very real about that. He can shoot the ball. Granted, he's made some boneheaded plays like the 4-point play against Michigan State, followed by a 3-point play against Michigan State, which was pivotal in helping them get back into the game. But besides that, he comes in my opinion, for 5 minutes a game and gives you the 5 best minutes you can expect on both ends of the floor from a freshman guard. I think, personally, I'd rather have him out there than Eric Hunter.
No. I mean, like we mentioned before, Eric Hunter has potential to be better. This kid stinks. I don't like him. You put him out there when there's 5 seconds left and you need a 3. That's what you put him out there for. When you load the whole floor with shooters. He's no Dakota Mathias. He's not even close to that.
You don't remember Dakota, though, as a freshman.
Yeah, he was better than him. He was better.
He was better, but he wasn't what he was by the time he was a senior.
No. I mean, Dakota definitely developed. There's no doubt about that. I'm not saying that.
Do you agree or disagree with the fact that Sasha is more or less athletic than Dakota? Who would you say is more athletic?
Probably Sasha.
Okay.
I'll agree with that. But that doesn't mean that he's going to be a better player.
I'm not saying he's going to be a better player. I'm just saying that there's a lot more potential there than what I expected.
I don't know. I just don't see it. I don't see the minutes. I don't.
The minutes are going to be there. See, this is where you're wrong. The minutes will be there because what is Purdue going to need next year? They're going to need a shooter to replace Ryan Klein. Who else is going to fit that role besides Sasha? Eric Hunter Jr. can't be a starter.
Better start recruiting.
Well, hopefully some of the guards and forwards that we have coming in next year can shoot, because otherwise Purdue will be a tough 3-point shooting team next year.
Yeah.
Losing Klein.
Oh, yeah.
Without development. So that's why I think Sasha moves into that starting spot next year, depending on how the team shapes up. And that kind of depends on Carson. But let's get to your boy.
I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but yeah.
That's what we always say. We hope we're wrong because, we can be pessimistic.
Yeah, it'd be great. It'd be great if he was good, but I don't see it.
Anyways, your boy Travion, what do you have to say about him? What do you like?
I mean, okay, the kid's just a bona fide stud. I mean, this kid's great. This kid's great. He's smart. He's under control. That's something with Harms last year. He's a maniac. He's tall. Yeah, that's great. He can block shots, but he's so flustered and he's so psycho under there. Travion is under control. He's a solid back to the basket player, and up until he got pulled for some reason, which we need to talk about, but up until he lost some minutes, he's playing with a lot of confidence. He was playing, I think he was good on the defensive end. And I think that this kid is out of that class, out of even all of the freshmen. I think he maybe Wheeler, but I think he has the best chance to be the best player out of that class. Out of the freshmen.
He definitely reminds me a lot of Caleb Swanigan. Mm-hmm. Now, that's not to say that he's good as Swanigan, but in that stretch in January and February, he was putting up numbers comparable to Swanigan's freshman year. He's got great touch around the basket when he's confident. Yeah. He's a good rebounder when he's confident. Not above the rim, but he does rebound because he's bigger. Here's the issue with him is that I think that there is something mental with him that he's got to build some mental fortitude, because right now it's just not there. Because I, in my opinion, that's why I think that Painter wasn't playing him earlier in the year, because he just didn't have any confidence.
Yeah, maybe.
Then he gets in a game. He starts to hit a few shots. He has a good game against Notre Dame. He has a good game against Michigan State.
Yep.
That thing starts to snowball, and then he starts to get minutes. He starts for multiple games in a row. He's playing great. He plays great against Wisconsin, helps us win up in Madison. Mm-hmm. And then he gets sick, and then he loses time. And then Harms, to Harms' credit, starts playing well. I mean, Harms was the hero against IU. He tips in a shot for a win. Harms scored a bunch of points against Ohio State.
Was he perfect in that game, or was that the next one?
I'm not sure.
He had a game where he was perfect.
Yeah. So like I said, all of these things, I think, led to the downfall of Travion this season, and we just haven't seen that Travion that we saw earlier. And this is what I think is important for the rest of the season, and we'll talk about this more tomorrow. But Travion has to be a part of this team's success for us to win anything. Travion has to play a solid 15 to 20 minutes of each game, not foul, if we are going to go anywhere, because he's the difference maker. Yeah. Because we don't have a backup center.
Yeah, I mean he was a step behind the play the entire Minnesota game. Yeah, he was foul.
No confidence.
That being said, if he gets his confidence back, they experimented with it a little bit. I got two questions. So first is, do you think that, or do you like the Harms Travion lineup where they're both playing? I personally do. I'm curious.
I don't love it. I think you can throw it out there depending on the matchup. I think if you're going against a team with with two other bigs, I think we threw it out there against Maryland maybe
Probably
when we were struggling. I know we threw it out at home against somebody. I don't remember who, but I think if you're going against a team if you're trying to match bigs for bigs, then I think it makes sense. But if you're trying to go small ball or the other team is forcing you to go smaller ball, then it's just not going to work. Which is one thing that's kind of disappointing me about Harms is because I expected him to be a better on-ball defender than he's been. He's great at blocking shots, and his interior defense has improved. But I figured that he was athletic enough to guard a guy out on the three-point line, which still hasn't proven to be the case. One thing I will say for Purdue in general this year on defense is that their switches and their double teams, generally speaking, have been spot on. And I have to get to this guy. So Travion, we know will be great. We're going to talk about him a lot more tomorrow for the rest of the season.
One quick question before we move on. Looking forward to next year, do you see him starting over Harms at any point consistently?
No, I would say that's a tough one.
Yeah, we can talk about that more when we recap the season, but I was just curious.
It could happen. Yeah, I want to see the rest of this season to make that judgment, but it could happen.
Okay.
But I have to get to this guy, Grady Eifert. Another reason that I honestly didn't expect this from Purdue is that I had this mindset going into the season that Grady Eifert is still a walk-on. He's not that good at basketball. I couldn't have been more wrong about Grady Eifert. I have to get this out there. I apologize, Grady. You're a great basketball player. You exemplify what a Purdue basketball player is.
Well, that's true. That part's true.
He's done everything for this team, though. He knocks down big three-point shots. Mm-hmm. He rebounds. He jumps on the floor. He takes charges. No. What is there that Grady Eifert doesn't do?
He's not athletic. I mean, you can say that, but
that's the only thing you got. That's the only thing.
Up until I was very upset that he was starting and getting a lot of minutes early in the season because, well, A, he wasn't playing as well as he is now. That's just a fact. And B, I'm like, this guy's a senior. He's not going to help the team in the future. Let's get these young guys some run. Let's get them some time. And it just wasn't happening. And so as of late, up until I would say maybe 3 or 4 games ago, probably even the IU game, I was still upset he was playing. And you are right. He is the typical Purdue player. He is get on the ground. Let's take some charges. He was the poster boy for what a Purdue player is. He really was. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, now he's actually playing well. He's hitting his open threes. He's making the right play most of the time. So yeah, I have to say I'm pretty impressed of where he's come just in this year.
Well, and here I have to give credit to Painter to some extent for this because at the beginning of the year, Grady Eifert was not integrated into the offense at all. He was. No. We essentially had 2 starters out there that were not a part of the offense. That was Nogel Eastern and Grady Eifert. Nogel would occasionally drive to the basket, but as far as when he was on the perimeter, you never had to worry about anything because he couldn't shoot a shot. And Grady Eifert would sit out there, but he wasn't doing anything. His main job was as soon as a shot goes up to run to the hoop and try to get an offensive rebound, which he did really well. Towards the end of the season, and I'd say in the past 10 to 15 games, you've seen sets created for Grady to get open to shoot a 3 because I still think the Big Ten is kind of in our mindset that they don't respect his offensive abilities.
No.
And I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I got to imagine that Grady's shooting over 40% from 3 this season, which is outstanding in college basketball. So, again, Grady Eifert, I'm sorry that I underestimated your ability and what you brought to this team. And that's what I think that kind of encompasses this Purdue team as a whole, is that as individuals, they are not that good at basketball players.
No.
That's the reality of the situation is you put any of these guys one-on-one against a lot of the other players in the Big Ten, and they're just not going to win. But the sum is greater than all the parts. And like you said, the synergy, It's just amazing what they've been able to do, and I have to give credit to Painter for that because no, we both didn't expect this to happen.
No, and I guess we've pretty much run through the whole roster. We can run through the last few guys. I guess let's talk no gel. I think it's pretty well known that you're not a fan, or you weren't
wasn't
a fan.
a fan.
I'll give you my quick take on him. He's a great defender. He's pretty good at slashing, honestly. He's pretty good at getting to the rim. Really good rebounder for a guard, especially.
Yes.
He's playing the point a little bit better now. The shot, though, oh boy, it's unbelievable to me that you can be a Big Ten basketball player and literally cannot shoot the basketball. You cannot shoot the basketball. Yeah. Free throws, I don't know what happened there, but somehow he's making them now. But yeah, it's just, I don't know, it just blows my mind. And it's like, how can you get to be a Big Ten? Like, I think he was a 4-star.
Oh yeah,
he's a highly recruited player that literally cannot shoot the basketball. He just can't.
Well, that might have been why a lot of other schools passed him up, because as far as his other abilities as a guard goes, you really love it. I mean, he's lengthy, he rebounds well, he's got a high motor.
Yep.
All things you love as a guard. Now, the reason that I had disdain for Nogel in his freshman year and at the beginning of this year is that he couldn't hit a free throw.
No.
So regardless of the fact of whether or not he's good at slashing to the rim, if you're slashing to the rim and you get fouled and you can't make those free throws, then it's basically a wasted possession. So the entire equation changed on Nogel as soon as he started being able to hit a free throw. So I've kind of taken a few steps back, and now that he's shooting, I think around 70% in the Big Ten from the free throw line, I can't argue with that too much. Now, with that being said, he's great at getting to the rim. Finishing at the rim, he's not great at. No. He does not have a lot of touch around the rim. He tends to just throw it off the backboard, which he needs to work on, and I think he will. But as far as Nogel goes, you're going to have to be okay with him being a glue guy. I don't think he's ever going to be an offensive star.
No.
He's going to lock down on the defensive end. He's always going to guard the other team's best guard, and he's going to get rebounds. And you know what? If we have shooters, as long as Purdue has shooters, he can be a starter.
Yeah.
But that is, you have to depend on having shooters if he's going to be your starter.
Yeah, and it's great too because I'd say something that's also extremely underrated about him is he follows the shot. Second chance points, he's always there putting it back.
Yeah.
So impressive year by Nogel this so far, I would say.
Yeah.
I guess let's get to Klein, and then we can get to the the player everyone knows, obviously. So Klein, best season by far.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not much more you can say about this kid, how far he's come. Now, he came into Purdue being a sniper. I believe he won the Indiana State All-Star game for three-point shooting. So this kid was known as a shooter. And he was good. He's a spot-up guy. I mean, this kid coming off a screen, though, full speed coming off a screen, he turns and pulls. It's almost automatic.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable how good this kid is at shooting threes.
Yeah.
And he's become a little bit more. I mean, he takes it to the basket, and it's a little slow. It's a little clunky, but he gets it done. So, I mean, that's a great year from him. I don't think we would be even close to as good as we are this year without Ryan Klein.
No. Ryan Klein is absolutely pivotal to Purdue's success because, like I said, you need to be able to stretch the floor in today's modern college basketball, and that's exactly what he does for you. And I don't want to get too much into his three-point shooting because we've always known that was good. What I think has evolved with his game, especially this year, is that he's not afraid to put the ball on the floor and take it to the rim. Does it look good?
No.
Absolutely not. It's ugly. It's the slowest thing I've ever seen. But somehow he's not terrible at it. He gets the ball on the hoop when he drives, or he's been decent at drawing contact. And he's actually got a decent fadeaway shot from within the three-point line. So I think those different tools that he's kind of added to his tool belt has really changed his game. It's made it better. Defensively,
defense has been better too.
It's been good enough. And that's all you can really ask for a guy that doesn't have supreme athleticism like himself.
Right.
So all in all, Ryan Klein has exceeded what I thought he could do as a starter because I honestly didn't have that high of expectations. But that's all I think we need to talk about with him. So
you know who he is.
Let's get to the main guy, the guy that Purdue kind of thought was going to be the star of the Big Ten this year. They thought possibly could win the National Player of the Year. Neither of those things are happening now. The National Player of the Year is probably going to go to either Zion Williamson or RJ Barrett.
Duke's starting to line up.
Someone from Duke, probably. But the Big Ten Player of the Year is most definitely going to go to Cassius Winston from Michigan State. What's happened to Carson? Why do you think he struggled? Why do you think you've seen his shooting percentage plummet from what we've seen in the past years? I have my thoughts, but I want to hear yours first.
I mean, so to start the season, if we want to talk non-conference, he could do no wrong. I mean, he was the team, and that's it. And that's why we lost those early games that we were talking about. That's why we lost those games. Big Ten play, started Big Ten play pretty good too. And he was doing fine. So, it's Carson. He's going to shoot a lot. He's going to not be the most efficient player, but he was hitting enough where it was like, you know what? We'll take the good with the bad. So I had no problem with that. Then something happened, and I'm not sure what it was. I can't remember the game. We were on the road, though, and everyone was chanting overrated at him, and he starts to miss. He missed 2 free throws in a row, I believe, and I was like, oh my, they really got in his head now. Like he's shook. And it kind of hasn't gotten better. He had one good game, or he's had a few, games, but he hasn't been non-conference Carson. He hasn't been early Big Ten Carson. And I don't think that it's other teams.
All-American Carson.
Yeah. I mean, he's not even licked that yet. He hasn't gotten close to that. He hasn't sniffed that yet. And I don't think that his team's figured it out necessarily because he's shooting the same shots that he shot before. I don't know if it's a confidence issue with him. He seems like he's just throwing up shots now just to throw up shots. And do I think he can fix it? Maybe. Yeah. I mean, he's talented. He's talented enough. That's for sure. He's definitely talented enough to get it back. And if he doesn't, though, I mean, this team's going absolutely nowhere.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I can see first round exit in the tournament.
Not
easy.
First round. Oh, we're not losing first round. So there's a couple things with Carson that I think has happened. I think that beginning of the year, much like everybody that was a Purdue fan, I think Carson kind of expected that he was going to have to carry this team if we were going to win games.
Yeah.
I think he saw what we all saw is that Purdue just doesn't have a lot of talent outside of him, raw basketball talent. What I don't think he anticipated is that Painter could get these guys to play together and play with cohesion in order to win games, especially in the Big Ten season.
Right.
And the great mystery of all of this is that even during this win streak that we've had, Carson hasn't played well.
No.
And that's what, honestly, above anything else, that's what's been the biggest surprise for me this season is that we've been winning games in spite of Carson Edwards rather than winning games because of Carson Edwards. Yeah. So I think the thing is that I think Carson came back this season to prove that he was an NBA player. And in order to do that, I think in his mind, he thought, I have to carry this team. I have to be the guy. I have to score 25 plus points a game.
30, yeah.
And you see that happening on a consistent basis, especially in the last 10 games, it feels. I think he's averaging above 20 points a game. And in my opinion, he should never be shooting 20 points or 20 shots a game unless he is shooting 50% from the field or better. And I think that has led to his downfall. I still love him as a player. Don't get me wrong. He's my favorite player on Purdue. He needs to stop forcing shots. If you're not playing well, let your other teammates step up. The Minnesota game is a perfect example of this. He shot the ball 31 times against Minnesota. That was a new record for him. 31 times is unacceptable. That is way too many shots for you to be taking, especially at the rate that he was making them. Ryan Klein in the same game was, I believe, 6 of 9 from the 3-point line for 18 points. and you're taking 31 shots, there's no other way to put it than that is selfish basketball. And that to me is the biggest thing that scares me going forward for the rest of the season, is that those guys in that locker room had to be frustrated after that Minnesota game at Carson. Yeah, you can say the free throws is the reason you lost that game. You can blame a number of other factors. But when a guy is taking 31 shots and shooting so terribly, that's the reason you lost. That is the main reason that you lost that game. It's unacceptable. In my opinion, Carson should be shooting the ball between 13 and 17 times a game. He can shoot more if he's doing really well. But if he's doing badly, 13, 17 shots, that's it.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, it's gotten out of hand now. And like that's why it's kind of the point I was making. Is like he's just kind of just throwing up shots to throw up shots. But yeah, I mean, I guess, what do you think then? Do you think that they can get it back? Do you think that he can get it back and that he can propel this team to be successful?
So the only silver lining of the Minnesota game is that he shot so many shots that even someone that's such a volume shooter like himself has to take a step back and look at the game as a whole and be like, this is not how we're going to win games. If we're going to win in the tournament, I have to be better than this. And if that means being a distributor, which we've seen from Carson, he has been better this year. He's been making the good passes. Mm-hmm. He's done really well at driving to the hoop and passing it out if the shot's not there. The problem is that when Carson gets in chuck mode, where he's just chucking up shots left and right, you know it's over. And it almost feels like his teammates can tell that they can't do anything about it because Carson takes the ball and isn't even looking for a shot. We've kind of joked about it since he's been at Purdue. Sometimes you can just tell when it's happening. You can tell when Carson brings it up over the half-court line. You can tell
not passing
he's shooting the ball. Yeah. And the perfect example of this was during the Maryland game on the road that we lost, and it was a close game at this point. Carson gets crossed over. He falls over on one half of the floor.
That might have been the game I was talking about.
They make the three-point shot. Carson literally dribbles it over the timeline, chucks a shot from 10 feet basically behind the three-point line. That's selfish basketball. It is what it is. Something's got to change. And I trust Painter at this point to tell Carson, hey, we're not winning. You keep doing you because we're not going to change that. And we have to have you in the starting lineup and we have to have you playing well to win. But I'm just telling you, if you're going to shoot 25 shots a game and you're shooting 25% from the field, we're not winning. And that's a reality.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. I guess then we can take that. I think we've ran through all the players. I think we can move to the Northwestern game and what we expect. I mean, Northwestern is far and away the worst team in the Big Ten. Illinois has even shown some signs of being not a good team, but like showing some signs of being, hey, we're not the doormat of the league. Northwestern, to be fair, they one of their players that they were recruiting, he was a highly recruited point guard supposed to replace McIntosh. They took away his scholarship before he got to school. There were some off-the-court issues. I don't know personally what happened there, but I know it was enough to revoke the scholarship. So, to be fair, that probably would have helped them a little bit. Would it have made them a contender? Probably not, no. But it did hurt. So, I'm expecting a win. I'm expecting a convincing win. It shouldn't even be close. Having it be, in Evanston here, there's a lot of Purdue alum do live in Chicago, so I'm expecting a pretty heavy Purdue crowd at this game. So yeah, I mean, I just that's what I'm expecting in this game. If they lose, tomorrow's cast will be not safe for work. I'll say it'll be a show.
It'll be angry. It'll be.
But I don't expect that to happen.
So. I don't either, first of all. I think Purdue gets out of there with a win. I'll say my prediction. I think it's going to be a 77 to, I'll say, 69 win for Purdue. I think that Purdue understands the stakes of this game. I think that they understand that this fan base has really rallied around them in this Big Ten season. I think that they've understood that what they're doing this season is really special, and no one expected them to do that. And I think they've played with the chip on their shoulders up until the Minnesota game. I think they got a little lackadaisical. And again, Minnesota's a tough team. It's not like they're a bad team. They're going to be a tournament team. So losing to them on the road isn't a bad loss, but it's a game you could have won. Now, you lose a lot of the goodwill with the fans if you come into this Northwestern game tomorrow flat. And if Purdue loses, they are losing. They're not losing their fans, but their fans are going to be mad. You'll be angry. I'll be angry. Purdue Nation will be angry because literally you would have started the week with an opportunity to win the Big Ten outright to not even getting a share of that. So
right.
It's really a must-win game for these players. It's a must-win game for Painter. It's a must-win game for Purdue's program, in my opinion. This is really going to set the stage for what these younger guys can do going forward. I really think it's that important.
Yeah, and not to harp back to the loss against Minnesota, but that really hurts you. If we're going to look at the Big Ten tournament, that really hurts you because right now we are a 2 if we win and a 3 if we lose. And 2 and 3, if we're talking just purely seeding in the Big Ten tournament, that really doesn't matter. 2 or 3 doesn't really matter too much. The 1 does because now whatever happens in the Michigan State game, the winner of that is the 1 seed.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have to play that 3 seed, whichever team loses that game, whichever team loses that game is still a really good team.
Yeah.
So that really hurt you there. And I was furious after that game. I'm sure a lot of other Purdue fans were too. But this is the situation you're in now. Try to get a share of that title. And now going into the season, I wouldn't say we expected them to be getting a share of that title. But the past few weeks, we're expecting them to get a share of that title. And they better get that.
In my opinion, this season's a success. If you get a share of the Big Ten title, point blank. I didn't expect it. So bringing home any hardware at the end of the season is going to feel good to me. Now, with that being said, I want them to go into the NCAA tournament expecting to win. So I want this team to go as far as possible, but being realistic about it, the Big Ten champion or the Big Ten regular season championship is a good place to start. It can kind of get the ball rolling. And I want this team to make a deep run into March because I think that could really set the stage for next season. But again, not a lot to say on the Northwestern game specifically because I think Purdue will get the job done. But one thing I did want to bring up, which is basketball related, it's Mackey related, is the IU sucks chant. Painter basically is trying to get rid of the IU sucks chant. He talked at senior night to Mackey, basically told him that they need to get rid of it. He used that time to tell people that. I think IU sucks might be gone. How do you feel about it?
I've always hated it. And I mean, to be clear, I wasn't a fan of any college basketball team until I went to school there. So I've been a fan since 2012. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was the dumbest thing. I think it's so stupid. It makes you look petty, especially when you're worse than IU. Now, you brought up a good point when we were talking about this off air about how when we are significantly better than them, then it's kind of a little more justified and a little okay, which I kind of agree with that. But I never do it unless we're playing. I don't even know if I do we play you. I just think it is so nerdy and stupid. And I am not a fan. I've never been a fan of the IU sucks chant. So if you get rid of it, fine. It's all for all the basketball band nerds that like to go to the games but don't know anything about basketball.
Well, we love the band nerds. I think they do know basketball, first of all. Anyways, so my stance on this is that I personally think IU sucks is fine in a vacuum. I don't think that there's anything inherently wrong. And if you're trying to equate the word sucks with the F word that IU was chanting, because that was kind of how this whole subject got brought up. They're not even in the same stratosphere. The F word is much worse. And that was kind of the context that Painter first started this conversation.
That's ridiculous.
So I think it's totally fine. I agree with Jack in the sense that if we're losing a basketball game at home and we're down by a lot, I don't want them doing IU sucks because we're losing. I want the students section to be engaged in the game that is happening. I want them to be going at the other team. I want them to be cheering loudly for Purdue. So I think that we can kind of get distracted sometimes by the IU sucks chant, which we don't need if we're losing. So I would be perfectly fine banning that if we're losing in a game. Secondly, Painter brought up the point that it's hard to recruit players because they tell the recruits how classy Purdue is, and this makes that is just garbage. That is garbage. These are 18-year-old, 17-year-old kids.
Yeah.
They don't care about IU sucks. They probably think it's hilarious, to be honest.
I mean, if you've ever been to a Wisconsin football game, their chants are much, much worse to each other, and they're one of the powerhouses in the Big Ten. So that's garbage.
The whole recruiting shtick saying that recruits don't like IU. They don't care about that. They want to see pretty women. They want to see
that hurts us.
No. They want to see a lot of different things. But IU sucks. They don't care about that. That's the truth. Sorry to call a spade, but it is what it is. So that's that. We did have a few Twitter questions from people I wanted to get to. Some are basketball related, some are kind of random. So let's get to the random ones first. Who's your favorite yin yang twin?
The one that showed up on time.
That's what I was gonna say.
I honestly forgot their names, but
yin and yang.
That's not their names.
Yin and yang. I like Yang better. He's the guy that showed up.
Yeah.
So beyond that, Peeps. Underrated, overrated, adequate.
Very interesting question because literally 2 days ago, I found Peeps unopened Peeps from last Easter in my cabinet. They're still in there right now. So I like them. I just don't eat them. So I have some there. So I guess overrated.
No, you'd say adequate.
No, I guess adequate. Yeah, I just haven't eaten them.
Peeps are trash. Peeps are trash. The only thing Peeps are good for are putting in your microwave and watching them blow up. So get that out of here. Can Klein be an actual NBA prospect like the poor man's Kyle Korver?
So I actually was wondering about that earlier this year. I don't know. I mean, he's so clutch from three, but I just don't think so. I think he's too slow.
I don't know if I talked to you about this or who I talked to about, but if Dakota Mathias can't make it in the NBA, Ryan Klein can't make it in the NBA because pretty much Dakota can do everything else as well or better than Ryan Klein.
And he didn't even get a look.
He didn't even get a look. So no, he's got no shot. Are we better off if Carson comes back next year? Let's wait. Let's hold this one for tomorrow.
Okay.
That's fair. That's a good one for tomorrow. On a scale from 1 to 10, how wrong was I about Grady Eifert?
You?
Yeah.
I'd say both of us, probably like a 9 or an 8. So I didn't want him playing at all.
Yeah. So I was completely wrong. I'd say a 10. So I'm wrong about it. I think that's it for today.
Yeah. We'll be back tomorrow. We will have post-game, obviously, reactions, and we will do a season recap. I know we kind of did a season recap now, but we will do looking forward to the Big Ten tournament and where our expectations are for that, because seeding, for the most part, will be set by the time the game's over. And then we will also go into some NCAA preview. So we're looking forward to the game. We'll be there. Tweet us with more questions if you have anything, pregame, postgame, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I think the band people know basketball.